in my domain, got the whole crowd screaming out our name. It's a blowout, it's a hurricane, it's over before you know it. While you shaking, we're a dynasty in the making. We're the royalty, now we're breaking down the enemy. Move over for the soldiers. Take a swing, I can take a hit. If we die, it's fine, we live for this. It's all for this. We're gonna stand on top with our hands in the sky. Gonna raise our cup to the stadium lights. For the glory, for the glory. We celebrate with the city tonight. Hear the hometown cheer, it's the ultimate high. For the glory, we do it for the glory.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as we continue on our chase towards the chase for the Season 4 Pizza Hut X Series Championship. We're into the Final Four, if you will, Final Four races of the regular season before we will determine who the 12 drivers will be that will battle for the championship. And we begin the Final Four here tonight at the place that started it all, Daytona International Speedway. We started out the season in the daylight at the season opening race at Daytona. Tonight, though, nighttime conditions, which means that the track is cooler, there's going to be a lot more grip, we may see a lot more three-wide action, and it's a super speedway, folks. Wildcard type race. Two things that we can always be sure about with a super speedway. Number one, it's going to be a wildcard race. It's definitely going to play its factor into shaking up the point standings both overall and playoffs-wise. And number two, as a super speedway, they always seem to cater to the underdog or the driver struggling in the points or the driver that you don't really look at and say, hey, he looks like he could be a playoff contender. These super speedways and their finishes always seem to surprise us. Lining up on the pole position, here's a little bit of history for you guys. 1 year ago, Kyle Keith drove the number 29 for William Brock Motorsports. Went to victory lane at this very track, and as you can see, the number 29 for William Brock Motorsports lines up on the pole position for this evening's race. Can lightning strike twice? We will have to wait and see, as it's Mark Davidson, a former winner this season, lining up on that pole position, trying to pick up his second win of the season. Alongside of him, driver that's having a career year, C Dollerton, comes into this race fifth in the points. Former winner this season already, but would love to pick up a second win. He is lined up on the outside of the front row. And then look behind them. We ended up having two drivers that finished last week's Pizza Hut X Series race at Rockingham very well. Kyle Langeland and Daniel Olson. Well, two of the Fitzwater Australia Racing Dodges sitting in row two. Chelsea Bowles, who was runner-up for the championship last year, this year anything but a championship-looking season as she's 39th in the points. And Kyle Langeland, who had a top 10 run last week, comes into this race currently 18th in the points. He's also looking for his first career win in the Pizza Hut X Series. Rockingham, North Carolina also played a huge factor into the playoff standings last week too, because N Hudson, two-time winner, managed to get back up into the top 30 in the point standings. Kind of playing spoiler there, because now he has actually knocked out a couple of drivers from playoff contention currently, with him being in the top 30 in points, including our Daytona winner to open up the season, Canario, and also Dougie Shears. So we're going to have to see if those two can bounce back tonight. And then also J Shelly, who I believe is rolling off this race from the 9th position. He took his first checkered flag of the season last week at Rockingham, North Carolina. That win propelled him up to 33rd in the point standings. He's about roughly 29 points still back from 30th in points. But if he can go to victory lane again here tonight in back-to-back weeks, that could put Shelly right up in the forefront to get into one of those playoff positions for the first time since Season 2. Without further ado, though, we are moments away from going down trackside and getting those most famous words in motorsports, only to say that at this point in time, the only driver that we know of that is locked into the playoffs is Scott Roush. Everybody else, it's still a big question mark, so we're going to have to see how Daytona plays its factor into this. Now let's go and get those most famous words in motorsports at Daytona.
Is this on? Drivers, start your engines.
Command is given. 24 laps await these drivers, and who's going to take the checkered flag? Only time will tell. It's going to be a top 10 the points coming into this race presented by Golden Corral. I should mention that 50% of the drivers in the top 10 in points coming to this race still looking for their first win of the season, including the top 3. Angel Navarro, the points leader, Chloe Ericsson in second, and J Jefferson in third. Jefferson's last win in the Pizza Hut X Series was last year at the Superspeedway of Talladega. Scott Roush, he's fourth in the points coming to this race with Chris Dollerton in fifth. His teammate Matt McIntire is sixth. Steve Morgan, the rookie points leader, he's seventh in the standings with Joshua Osborne up in eighth. Jordan Lopez currently in ninth, and Phil Parker completes the top 10. A lot of names that if they go to victory lane here tonight that could be a huge factor into making it into the playoffs that don't have a win yet include, as I mentioned, Navarro, Ericsson, Jefferson, also add in Steve Morgan, Phil Parker, Quentin Moore, Garrett Sydnor, and Alex Gray. And if you want to go a little bit further out, Eli Bright, Ryan George, A Baranauskas, K Langeland, Ben Braley, and Daniel Olson, all of them could put themselves in a playoff picture with a win here tonight. We've also got a number of drivers that are former winners this season, like Carson Gum, Mark Davison, Charles Jackson, A Eisestein, Yin Canario, 21st through 25th in the point standings. That's about where the final playoff position battle is going on. If any one of those drivers get their second win of the season, they leapfrog all the other drivers with one win and put themselves in a good spot to get a top seed when the playoffs begin. But here we go! Green flags in the air, let's roll at Daytona! We mentioned that Kyle Keith is the defending winner of this race in that number 29 car now piloted by Mark Davidson. You'll see Kyle Keith in tomorrow night's Hershey's Cup Series race. Keith, the defending winner back in Season 2. The race winner was J Qualls, so we'll keep our eyes on the 27, and the inaugural Summer Daytona winner was, if I recall correctly, I think I have it in my head, I'm just checking to see if I am correct. It was indeed, it was Kermika Jasin. As a matter of fact, it was this was the site where Kermika Jasin got his third straight win of the season. He had won the previous 2 weeks at Springfield and Rockingham, North Carolina as well. Back-to-back-to-back wins at the time, and he was driving the number 7 at the time, so we'll keep an eye on Dougie Shears. Shears driving for Michael Norman Motorsports, who had that 1-2 finish with Easton Barber and Melody Baker last night. We know that that's definitely a team that puts together amazing super speedway cars and trucks. And we're going to have rookie stripes at the front of the field. Mark Davidson and now Diego Yepez there in the 21. Diego comes into this race currently situated in the 34th position in points. We saw last week a driver in J Shelly who was outside the top 30 in points go to victory lane. So Yepez would fit the bill of a driver struggling in points that super speedways always seem to cater to. So is it the 21's time? Another driver that started near the front that's definitely struggling in points. William Brock there in the 62. 38th in the points, and then if you looked on the outside line there, I think he was 6th on that outside line, that red and white Lily Diabetes Ford Mustang. That's Jake Rogers, dead last in points, so we'll see if he makes his way up towards the front in the closing stages. Got a couple of teammates lined up behind J Shelly, 97 of Angel Navarro, the points leader, and right behind him is his teammate Cole Deaver in the 15. As up front, Chelsea Bowles steps out of line on Diego Yepez. She's going to go to second. Dollerton follows for third. Brock trying to go to 4th. And here comes last week's winner, J Shelly there, that Izzy Soda Chevy Camaro. Mentioned as far as last week after Shelly's win that 2 teams, Michael Norman Motorsports and Backmarker Motorsports, both running 5-car teams, and 4 of their drivers in each respective team have gone to victory lane this season. For Michael Norman Motorsports, it's been Chris Dollerton, Matt McIntire, Aubrey Eisestein, and D Shears. Phil Parker, the lone man out that hasn't won for that team. For Backmarker Motorsports, it's been Seth Cole, Carson Gum, Charles Jackson, and then J Shelly, the lone man for that team that hasn't won yet. Is Christian Merrick Jr., who, if memory serves me correctly, his last win was at Auto Club Speedway, and I believe that was last year. Season finale. He also has a former win as well back in Season 2 when he won at Talladega Superspeedway. So he knows how to win at the fast tracks, and Daytona is definitely a fast track. But how about Mark Davidson? Doing a good job right now, holding everybody off, and now he's got a teammate right behind him in William Brock. So maybe the best scenario that William Brock Motorsports could have right now with the 29-62 running 1st and 2nd. They got J Shelly right behind them in 3rd. Kyle Langeland now side by side with Chris Dollerton for 4th. And the Dodge Charger of Langeland will take the spot on that inside line. Trying to see if there's drivers making their way up here towards the front. One driver I'm noticing there, you can see the Pittsburgh Steelers logo on the front of his car, Ryan George. Now obviously Kev Shear Racing Tech is a much smaller organization than Michael Norman Motorsports or Backmarker Motorsports, but for their 3-car team, they've had 2 of their drivers go to victory lane. Jordan Lopez once, Scott Roush twice. The lone man on that team yet to find victory lane is Ryan George. The announcement made this past week that Ryan George and Scott Roush, they're being re-signed back to Kev Shear Racing Tech, along with new driver, rookie Nick Gunther, who will be driving the 55 next year. And Kev Shear Racing Tech will be moving from Ford Mustangs over to Chevy Camaros for Season 5. One thing I'm noticing already here, too, we're not seeing a whole lot of 3-wide racing. These drivers are basically double wide. And that says to me that we may be settled in for a long green flag run. And with that being said, on this 24-lap scheduled distance, are these drivers going to be good to go the full distance on fuel? Now, I may have made a tiny alludement to it earlier on, but I didn't exactly come out and blatantly say it. The last time we were here at Daytona, the season opener, Ying Canario in the 6th was the winner. I saw him up on the outside line about mid-pack. We'll have to see if maybe he can get up here and sweep Daytona. He's in that big battle right now for that final playoff position. Drivers, like I said, that are right in that playoff, final playoff position battle are Mark Davidson, Charles Jackson, Aubrey Eisestein, Ying Canario, and Carson Gum. Few of those drivers are up here near the rear or near the front of the field. Mark Davidson obviously out in front. I saw Charles Jackson making some strides towards the front. Looks like he is fading back now, though, as he's gotten trapped on the outside line. Haven't really seen the 3 of Aubrey Eisestein up near the front yet. Mentioned I saw Ying Canario about mid-pack, and really we haven't seen an appearance yet by the 99 of Carson Gum, though I do see him about 7th on that inside line. I think he's behind D Shears right now. So right now, Mark Davidson doing a good job of blocking lines, and this is definitely a far cry from what we saw in our Tax Slayer Truck Series race here yesterday, where it seemed like it was very difficult to hold on to the lead. Mark Davidson started on the pole, and nobody's been able to get the race lead away from him yet. He's been able to do a good job of earnharding it, controlling the 2 different lines. As a matter of fact, it seems like he's kind of trying to maneuver the line so that way his teammate William Brock can get back up there in 2nd, which he is now successful in doing so. Angel Navarro, points leader coming into this race, but still looking for his first win of the season. I mean, Navarro can lead the points all he wants, but if he doesn't have a win, he's not going to make it into the playoffs with the way that we have the win and you're in system. Ryan George now slots into 4th. Here comes Ashland Boyd, number 20 there, in the, well, he's in the 6th position unofficially right now. He was trying to get 5th from J Shelly. Looks like he's going to try again. Not quite able to get there. So the 20 is currently in 6th place. Ashland Boyd, a two-time winner last season, still trying to get his first win this year. Comes into this race situated right now 35th in the point standings. Looked like for a brief moment, William Brock thought about trying to battle his teammate for the race lead, thought better of it or else just couldn't get there. And then almost fell back into a battle with Angel Navarro for second. Now Navarro is side by side with Ryan George for third, so William Brock Motorsports 1-2 again. I don't think we've ever had a weekend, even going back to when we had Oreo Truck Series, Mobile Cup Series, and Snickers Cup Series, where we had the weekend swept by 1-2 finishes. Well, we've got the start of it this week with Michael Norman Motorsports going 1-2 in the truck race. Right now, we've got William Brock Motorsports 1-2 in our Pizza Hut X Series race. A lot of action's gone on here at the front of the field already, and we are just halfway home in this race. 29 last year, went to victory lane with Kyle Keith, trying to do it with back-to-back seasons and two different drivers. Now Mark Davidson, we mentioned, is in that battle for that final playoff position, so obviously he'd like a second win, but you look at a driver like William Brock, who has been in the Pizza Hut X Series, I believe, since Season 1. Just double check on that, I believe so, since Season 1, yeah, and I think the best he finished in the point standings for the past 3 seasons is 36th. And he has not gone to victory lane here in the Pizza Hut X Series ever since its inception. And so, obviously, I think that 62 driver wants to go to victory lane as well. Looks in his rearview mirror, though, and he's going to see some Chevy Camaros that have now caught the top 2. Navarro, Shelly, and now Dougie Shears there in the 7. Remember, the 7's gone to victory lane here, the very first time that the drivers visited Daytona for the second time in the year. When Kermika Jasnin completed the trifecta of 3 wins in a row. Mason Wood in that 18, looking good right now. There's been some negotiations going on between Mason Wood and Joanna Atwood Motorsports. We obviously know that Joshua Osborne looks like he's in good shape to make it into the playoffs this season, and if he can finish top 5 in the points, he may end up making a jump up to the Hershey's Cup Series, which would leave a vacant ride open at Joanna Atwood Motorsports, and according to what's being heard, Mason Wood may be in line for that second Joanna Atwood Motorsports entry next year. So not only is Mason Wood trying to do the best he can here this season for Joe Gibbs Racing, but also maybe kind of doing a little bit of auditioning right now for James Qualls, the owner of that team. Carson Gum has now found his way to the front. Now we'll see what the 99 can do, picking up his first career Pizza Hut X Series win a few weeks ago at Iowa. Nobody yet has been able to shake Mark Davidson from the race lead. It's just kind of a question of who is it going to be. Another driver that's now fought his way up here towards the front. You see him down there, the Liberty University logo of Matt McIntire. And here comes Carson Gum. He's going to be the first man to try and dislodge the 29 from the race lead. And I think he might be successful. He's got some friends down there with him. Ashland Boyd, Matt McIntire, Jessica Miles. I believe that's the 19 of Justin Tucker there as well. When Nathan Hudson made it back into the top 30 in the points, he not only dislodged Dougie Shears out of one of the 12 playoff positions, but not Dougie Shears, make the Ian Canario out of one of the 12 playoff positions. He also dislodged our Bristol winner Justin Tucker, so not a surprise to see Tucker coming up here to the front. Carson Gum out in front now. He's in control of the lead. Ashland Boyd to second. There's McIntire, and there's Jessica Miles in the 25. Jessica Miles headed into last week's race at Rockingham, 30th in the points, and now dropped another spot. Now is 31st in the points coming into this race, trying to get her first win of the season. Of course, that big question mark is fuel. I mean, are these drivers racing as aggressively for the lead for one of two reasons? One, because they're going to have to pit at some point here, so they want to be pitting at the highest position possible, or they know they can make it the rest of the way on fuel, the entire scheduled distance, and so they're giving it all they got right now. Chevy, Toyota, Chevy, Chevy, Chevy. That's your top 5, followed by another Toyota and then the Dodge of Chelsea Bowles. First Ford is Diego Yepez back there in the 21, and he's actually side by side with another Ford, and I believe that was 34 of Jordan Lopez, the Love's Travel Stops Ford on the top side there, that yellow machine. Now the one thing that Carson Gum is lacking right now is teammates. We saw before that thinking last season, that Mark Davidson had William Brock up there a couple of times to help play defense. Closest teammate Carson Gum has to him right now, I believe, is the 62 of Seth Cole, who is not yet in the top 10. He's somewhere around the 15th, 16th position, I would say. Best opportunity for teammates to work together right now, I'm seeing, if he can get up to his teammate, would be the 20 and the 19 of Ashland Boyd and Justin Tucker, and you've also got the 18 of Mason Wood back there just a ways too, just outside the top 10. Now they're going to get broken up though, because here comes Mark Davidson to the inside. He'll take second away from Ashland Boyd, and he's going to bring a Chevy contingency with him. Well, if you call one car a contingency, in Jessica Miles, who now tucks up into third place. So Davidson got dislodged by Carson Gum. Now he's back on the bumper of the 99. Is he going to try and make a move and take the top spot back? Jessica Miles seemed pretty committed to Mark Davidson when they made the pass for second and third on Ashland Boyd. If Davidson makes a move, will Jessica Miles go with him again? Don't count out a couple of these drivers I'm seeing on the inside line making their way up here towards the front in the closing stages. I see Cole Deaver back there, Seth Cole, Jake Rogers, J Shelly. They could play a factor as Mark Davidson back to the bottom and back to the lead. So only one driver has been able to find the chink in the armor of Mark Davidson. That was Carson Gum, but that didn't last long. Now Davidson leaves the inside line open. Here comes Justin Tucker. Couple of rookies will go side by side into turn 1 for the top position. Inside line will prevail. The 19's out in front. Now Tucker, we mentioned, got dislodged from one of the 12 playoff spots with Hudson's reemergence back in the top 30. But if he can go to victory lane for a second time this season, he leapfrogs everybody and could lock himself up a spot in the playoffs. But now here comes Chelsea Bowles in the 31. Her last win was last season at the Super Speedway of FTF. So she knows how to win at SS tracks. Diego Yepez right behind her. Mason Wood, Cole Deaver, Seth Cole with teammate James Shelly in tow. As the race draws closer and closer to its end, drivers getting more and more anxious to battle for the lead. Chelsea Bowles did a nice job right there blocking the momentum of Diego Yepez through the center of the tri-oval. She'll tuck down in front of the 21 for the moment. So out in front is the 31 car, trying to get, I believe, what would be this season Fitzwater Australia Racing's first win. As Chelsea Bowles, Kyle Langeland, Daniel Olson, they all haven't found victory lane yet. Now the top 2 are clear. Battle on for third between teammates. Mason Wood to the inside of Justin Tucker. And as we will hit the line, there will be a total of 3 laps to go. Bowles, Yepez, Wood, Deaver. Top 4 have not been to victory lane yet this season. Told you that the track of Daytona seems to cater to the underdog. And it could very well help a driver put a crooked number in the win column. I think a lot of the momentum is going to have to take place 3rd, 4th, 5th on back for anybody further up front to be able to make a move on Chelsea Bowles. We'll see. They call it the energy here at Super Speedways. It's got to happen from the back in order to correlate to the front. It's a Dodge, a Ford, a Toyota, and a Chevy, the top 4. So there's really no manufacturer alliances that can happen here if anyone makes a move. Cole now slots to 5th, Shelly in 6th. That might be the best alliance right now, as Deaver now to the inside for 3rd on Mason Wood. And he's got some Chevys with him in Seth Cole and Shelly, so maybe the Chevrolets can work together. Deaver then moved up to the high side, leaving Seth Cole and James Shelly on the inside by themselves. Looks like the inside line's still going to move, though. Deaver, I think, is the one making moves, but he's got to make 2 moves here in this final lap for the win. And now Seth Cole's going to go to the inside for 3rd place. White flag displayed, 1 more lap to go. Chelsea Bowles trying to get her first win of the season. She is 39th in points, so this win wouldn't exactly shake up the playoff standings unless Chelsea Bowles can get on a momentum tear and get back up into the top 30 in the points before the end of the regular season. Will Yepez make a move down here into 3? Here he comes! Here comes Diego! Go, Diego, go! Seth Cole thought about going up the middle. Now stays on the high side. Which line's going to move coming out of the corner? They may be dead even. Chelsea Bowles, Diego Yepez, drag race to the line. It's going to be Yepez by half a car length on the inside line, taking the checkered flag here tonight at Daytona. It came down between 2 drivers who are outside the top 30 in the point standings. Chelsea Bowles, 39th, Diego Yepez, 34th. But now with Diego Yepez with this win, now he's got to try and get himself into the top 30 in the points to potentially battle for a playoff position. It is the first win of the season as well, the first Pizza Hut X Series win for Srigley Motorsports. And it happens here tonight at Daytona. Standings will be official. We ran clean and green the entirety of the 24-lap event, and fuel was not a concern. Yepez obviously gets Rookie of the Race with the victory here tonight. It's his first career NNSCRA victory. Chelsea Bowles will have to settle for second, 38 1/1000th short. J Shelly, 1 week after his win, brings it home with a solid outing of third as his quest to get back into the top 30 in the points begins. Seth Cole will follow him in 4th, so great run for a couple of the drivers out of Backmarker Motorsports. With Jake Rogers, great run for the guy who came in dead last in points, getting 5th. 6th place for Cole Deaver, rather. Chris Dollerton, he's been the quiet man. After his win earlier on this season, he's just been consistently getting top 10 after top 10 as he gets a 7th place run tonight. Mason Wood brings it home in 8th. Zach Flickinger, never talked about the 96. Great run for him out of Gardner Racing. He'll get 9th, and Ashland Boyd will complete the top 10. As a matter of fact, Joe Gibbs Racing had a good outing with all 3 of its cars here tonight. Wood in 8th, Boyd in 10th, and Justin Tucker just outside the top 10 there in 11th place. Ryan George will finish in 12th. Mark Davidson dominated the first half of this race, but then got dislodged and never got back up there to the front. He'll finish 13th. Kyle Langeland was 14th. Carson Gum faded back to 15th. And the rest of your top 20 were Quentin Moore, Jessica Miles, Cody Lamas, Matt McIntire, and Jordan Lopez. As you look on down through the remainder of the finishing results, where in the world did Angel Navarro in the 97 go? The guy who came in as the points leader. He faded back to finish in the 37th position, and second in the points, Chloe Ericsson didn't finish much better in the 38th position. Third in the points, Jay Jefferson finished in 31st, and 2-time winner Scott Roush finished in dead last. Only driver in the top 5 in points that really had a decent outing was Chris Dollerton with a top 10 run, so he's going to gain a lot of points on everybody else that was ahead of him in the standings. And you look here at some drivers that we were talking about coming into this one that were kind of in the picture for playoff positions. Aubrey Eselstein, 27th. And also you look at Yin Canario in 35th, so they may be fading out of the playoff picture. And we also mentioned that last week, after that race, Nathan Hudson moved back into the top 30 in the point standings. Well, the gap between him and 30th in the points was 7 points. Dougie Shears and Joshua Hyatt were 29th and 30th, and Nathan Hudson finishes the day out in 39th. Like I said, he's got to stop this fluctuating of good run, bad run, and he gets another bad run here tonight. So if he falls outside the top 30 in the points here tonight, that opens up the door for another driver with 1 win this season to get one of those potential playoff positions. Still a ways to go in the season, though. After tonight's race, we've got 3 more races to finish out the regular season. Still anything can happen. Still might be able to get back up in the top 30 in points, might Nathan Hudson, but we'll have to see what happens in the upcoming races for the Pizza Hut X Series at Gateway Hillside, and M&M's. But thank you all for tuning into tonight's race as Diego Yepez picks up his first career victory here in the Pizza Hut X Series at Daytona. Hope you guys enjoyed this race. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today. We have shown you full finish results. These are your rookie point standings, your overall point standings heading into next week at Gateway. All the drivers that are 12 highlighted in yellow would be the 12 drivers that would battle for the championship right now if the season were to come to an end and the playoffs were to begin. We finish off this race weekend at Daytona with the Hershey's Cup Series action here tomorrow, and that will certainly be a wild one. Before next week, trucks are off, Pizza Hut X Series at Gateway, and Hershey's Cup Series at Pikes Peak. Until then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching a production of the NNSCRA, Offline Racing at its best. Good night from Daytona.